Welcome back with the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament now in the books and millions of brackets destroyed. My next guest knows a thing or two about destroying brackets and creating mayhem in March. You remember it from last season when the Oakland Golden Grizzlies shocked the world by defeating the Kentucky Wildcats in the first round of the NCAA tournament. My next guest has been the head coach of the Oakland Golden Grizzlies for over the 40 years and has won over 700 games. It's the one and only, the legendary Hall of Fame head coach, Mr. Greg Kampe. Coach, thank you so much for being here. This is an absolute honor. So, without further ado, let's get started. All right, Coach. So to start, you attended Bowling Green State University in the Mid-American Conference, where you were a kicker, punter, and defensive back. And it says here you broke the MAC record and BGSU record for average yards per punt with 57 and a half and a 77-yard punt in a game. Also for a Bowling Green record for the longest punt. Do those records still stand? And if they do, looking back, how does it feel that you are in the MAC history books as a player?
No, that they lasted quite a while. I not sure when it got broken. I would look every 4 or 5 years, just out of curiosity. I think they lasted maybe 35, 40 years, which was kind of cool. But there was a really strong wind that day, and I got to punt with the win all four punts. So that had a lot to do with it. But yeah, it was neat to just say you're in the record books. It didn't, 50 years later, it's no big deal. I'm surprised you even see that, but it was cool while it happened.
Well, I mean, as a former kicker and punter myself, I was in high school and stuff like that. So, I mean, it always fascinates me to see other records and stuff like that, especially as a Central Michigan alumni in the MAC. It is a very, um, it's a very interesting stat that I like to, keep in my arsenal. So, tell me about your time at Bowling Green from besides being on the football field. I mean, what made you choose to go to BGSU? Because I know you're from Ohio.
Yeah, well, I was born in Saginaw, but I moved to Defiance, Ohio when I was like 7 years old. And, um, I chose Bowling Green because it was the only school that recruited me that allowed me to play both football and basketball. And it's really the only reason I went there. I wasn't sure at that stage which, uh, you know, I had it down football wise. If Notre Dame had offered, I would have gone to Notre Dame. Um, I visited there, and they signed a quarterback out of Birmingham or Dearborn Divine Child instead, a guy named Gary Forsett. And they had told me if he says no, you'll get the scholarship. So I kind of hung on for that, and I didn't get that. And then I was recruited football wise at Kentucky, Michigan State, uh, a lot of the MAC schools and that. Basketball wise, Michigan. Um, my brother went to Michigan. He played football at Michigan. My dad played football at Michigan. So Michigan was kind of, uh, you know, on my highlight too, which kind of the Notre Dame thing would have made my dad mad. But and when all came push to shove, I just looked at what was best for me and what I wanted in my life, and I wanted to play both. And Bowling Green was the only school that allowed me to do that. And back in those days, there was no ESPN back in those days. So when you grew up, I didn't even know Alabama or Georgia or Tennessee or any of those schools existed. You knew about Michigan in football, Michigan, Ohio State, and Notre Dame, Oklahoma. Nebraska. I mean, those were the teams that were always on TV. You never saw Purdue or any of those schools on TV. So, as growing up, the MAC football was phenomenal. I mean, I 13 guys on my team played in the NFL. I mean, it was back in that day, MAC football was as good as the bottom, the middle of the Big Ten. It just wasn't, it was Michigan and Ohio State at the top and everybody else, and the MAC was equal to everybody else. So that's why I went.
Wow, wow. So and it's just nowadays with everything that's happened with college football, all the shifts, all of the conference realignment, all the the increased level of play. The Mid-American is still one of the best conferences when it comes to competitiveness and play. I mean, obviously with the deal that they have with ESPN is something that still intrigues fans to watch games during the middle of the week, Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, and
Yeah.
Wednesdays in November. So. Uh, Although I was not a fan by us students, though, having games on Tuesday night when we have class the next day. So, uh, so after Bowling Green, you got your assistant coach at fellow Mid-American School Toledo from 78 to 84 before taking the Oakland job. What made you go into coaching overall, and why did you choose Oakland when it was their first season ever?
Well, I don't know why I chose coaching. People kept telling me that, you should go into coaching and you should do that. Have a journalism degree, a broadcast journalism degree, and I signed with the Seahawks as a free agent. Um, um, Out of school. It wasn't much money. There wasn't much of a chance I was going to make it. And I got offered the graduate assistant job at the University of Toledo, but the coach there told me I had to choose between uh, going to Seattle for, where I could get cut or, take the job because if I went in July for a couple of weeks and got cut, then, he would have to he was going to hire somebody new. So I decided to take the graduate assistant job. I didn't really think I could make it at that time. Um, so I did it. I took the Toledo job and I don't know why, I had also during my graduate assistant year, I applied for a job at a TV station in Toledo, trying to get into the sports thing. They had an internship, and I didn't get that, which um, so I was like, "Oh, I've got this basketball gig. I'm going to take it." And then I really liked it, and 50 years later, I'm still coaching.
And when you got to Oakland, the Pioneers, yes, for everyone that's watching, the Grizzlies were the Pioneers before they became the Golden Grizzlies. In the Great Lakes Intercollegiate Athletic Conference in Division Two, it wasn't until your 10th year at the helm at Oakland where you guys made four straight NCAA Division Two tournament appearances, including a Sweet 16 trip in 96, 97. Take me through those four seasons specifically. And after that run, did you think it was time that Oakland became a Division One program?
It's really an interesting as you look back at it. When I got there, I thought I would win the national championship my first year and then be the coach at UCLA. I just um, I was very, very arrogant when it came to this. And I guess if you play two sports at a major college, you probably have to have some arrogance to you. Um, but I got that slapped out of me real quick. Oakland had never had a win. When I got the job, they'd never had a winning season in the history of their league that they were in. And so there was a reason for that. And it was basically because they didn't have good enough players. The facility wasn't great, the funding wasn't great, and all that. But I thought I'll take this job and I'll win anyways, and realized it wasn't that easy. We did win 20 games our third year, which I'm kind of proud of that. But we weren't able to win a championship for a while. But then once we started winning them, then they started coming in pretty not easily, but pretty often. Um, when we had a president named Gary Russi and the people that worked with him, um, they wanted to do something to increase the view of Oakland University to the world, and they felt that Division One sports did that. And in hindsight, they ended up being right. I mean, the whole world knows who Oakland is now because of, win over Kentucky and things like that in the NCAA tournament. But their view of this was, if we want to go from being this, school here in Oakland County to a regional school where people from Ohio and Kentucky and would come to school here. And they felt the only way to do that was to have, well, not the only way, but a very important way to do that was to have Division One athletics. And then, of course, you got to be good at it. Personally, I was against it at the time. We had, and I was against it because there was a 4-year window where you couldn't play in the NCAA tournament, and we were really rolling at the time. The to move from Division Two to Division One, you had to do certain things, and one of them was this moratorium for 4 years. You can't play in postseason, which they still do today, and it doesn't make sense, but they do it. Um, and I didn't want that. I was in my early early 40s, I think, or late 30s, early 40s. I was in the prime of my coaching career. We at least I thought that time. We were good, really good. And I had a team coming back that I thought could win the national championship. And so I was like, are we sure we want to do this? But that snowball was rolling. I didn't really have a chance to stop it. And you know, we were this is how good we were. Our first year in Division One, we won the conference championship. And I did it with those players that would have been in Division Two.
Wow, that is very impressive because you guys are in the Mid-Continent Conference and what is now the Summit League. Uh,
Mhm.
and like you just said, it program found immediate success when it became a Division One, including making the big dance for the first time in 2005. Take me through that season and how nervous were you stepping onto the tournament floor for the first time?
Well, I had, as an assistant at the University of Toledo, our team was in the NCAA tournament. And so I had been into the NCAA tournament before. I never made it as a player. I was an assistant coach that went to a Sweet 16, but it was nothing compared to being the head coach. When you talk about nerves and you talk about responsibility and things like that. We went to the Sweet 16 my first year of coaching in 1978, 79 at the University of Toledo. We lost to Magic Johnson's, or no, we lost to Notre Dame the year Magic Johnson's team won the national championship. We lost to Notre Dame in the Sweet 16. So uh, that was a whole, and I thought my first year, oh, this is awesome, first year of coaching, Sweet 16. And last year we were, 10 seconds away from getting back to the Sweet 16, and it had been what 40 some years. So it isn't easy. I know that. Um, it was cool, Pierre Duke's shot that put us in there it was not a season that we thought we were good enough. It was not a season that looked like we were going to be champions and go to the NCAA tournament, but our team put it together late in the year, had a fantastic run. Raul Marshall ended up being an NBA player on that team. Pierre Dukes with the famous shot. And then we went and played in that play-in game and won it. And that down in Dayton, we had like 5,000 Oakland people go to the game. I mean, busloads of people down to it. And it was, what Gary Russi did as president, it substantiated it when we got to the NCAA tournament and we saw the amount of, because when I got to Oakland, the first game I ever coached, there couldn't have been 35 people at the game. I mean, it was nobody cared, and I didn't know what I was getting into. Nobody cared. Nobody, they wanted the game to be over so the students could play pickup after we were done. So uh, to see 5,000 people from Detroit down in Dayton Arena watching us playing the NCAA tournament playing game was just unbelievable feeling.
And just about 20 years later, I think that crowd nearly doubled or tripled in size when you guys went down to play Kentucky. But we'll get to that in just a second. So, Coach, this is my favorite part of the interview. I love doing this. It's just seven quick rapid fire questions just to get to know you. Just really fun, just one, 2 word answer, just get to know you, sir. So, to start off, your favorite Oakland tradition that the school has.
I like the players going up into the pep band afterwards after the game.
Your favorite music artist or band of all time?
The Eagles,
Eagles, all right. Your go-to guilty pleasure snack.
potato chips.
Favorite leisure activity in the off season.
I play a lot of golf.
Uh, best best part of being a father or a grandfather.
It's a longer answer, but being a father it's the greatest thing in the world. There's nothing better in life than having been a father. Nothing. It's the from the time they were born until the time they leave the house is it just gets better every year. And I'm a grandfather now, and my little 3-year-old granddaughter came to a game this year, and right before the game, I saw her looking at me, and I gave her a little wave, and she gave me a little wave back, and that was like the coolest thing that ever happened. So, yeah, that's it's a great thing.
Your favorite movie of all time.
Ooh, ooh. I would say The Sting. Nobody's going to know what that is. 1970s, the Sting.
Best place to travel on vacation.
Oh, you know, I don't I don't have a one I keep going back to. I try and go somewhere new all the time, but where it's warm and where there's water.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So now jumping ahead the last season, the 2024 season, you guys won the Horizon League tournament for the first time uh in the school history. You guys after that, you guys got matched up with Kentucky, we mentioned earlier in the first round. Tell me about what you remember about Selection Sunday, being with your team, being with the staff, and the overall preparation that began for Kentucky.
Yeah, well, so we had a nice thing at the arena. There were probably a couple thousand people showed up, which again, you think about the first game ever, and then just for a selection show, we had over 2,000 people there. Um, my team, the excitement of my team, and then when Kentucky came up, knowing that we were playing a blue blood, we were going to be playing on, in a prime time TV slot, which ended up being 7 o'clock Thursday night. The excitement of all that, and just all the people and how everybody was patting them on the back and things like that. But my favorite story was on the way home from it. I stopped to get gas, and I walked in, and the elderly lady behind the counter leans out behind the glass thing and says, "We can beat Kentucky, can't we?" And I go, "Sure we can." And obviously we did. And a few weeks later, I walked in there and she came running out and gave me a big hug and said, "I bet $10 that we would beat Kentucky, and I won 750." So it was that was my favorite part of the whole thing.
Uh, Oh, so you guys are on that dance floor against Kentucky. It's a close game. Jack Olke is having the night of his life from beyond the arc. Take me through the last final minutes of that game, and when the clock hit triple zeros, what was going through your mind once it was over? In reality was setting in that you just took down three-seeded Kentucky.
Yeah, the I'll start with the end first. It doesn't set in, and it doesn't because I have responsibilities after the game. Number one, I had to go down and shake a good friend of mine's hand who I know was going to be in a lot of trouble over losing to Oakland. Um, then I had to do the TV, and you got to make sure that at that point that you're representing Oakland well, and that you're putting you want to go and start screaming and yelling and say, hey, but you can't do that. You got to act like you've been there before. Um, and then I've got to go calm my team down and celebrate a little bit with them, but let them know we still got, we're still in this thing and we can win another round. And then I got to go to the media, and then I got to talk to a million other people. And then about an hour and a half after all that's over, then you realize, okay, we got North Carolina State and we got to prep and get going for them. So it was, it was a never anything where you could just sit back and go, wow, that's something what we did. Now, in the summertime, when it was all over, you look back, and I've watched that game quite a few times, and you feel really good about it. You feel good that, you think about when they made the decision to go to Division 1, and now here we are. Look what we've done. So that was cool. The last 4 minutes were tough because, we had a 2-point lead with 4 minutes to go. We were dead tired. I called a timeout 2 seconds before immediate timeout, which gave us, then we went back out one play, a foul was called, and we got another 3-minute rest. So I felt good that we were rested going into the last 4 minutes. A lot of big plays happened. Kentucky made some big plays. We kept making big plays, and they'd match them. And so you never knew. And with 18 seconds to go, we were up four, I think. And Trey Townsend was at the free throw line, and DQ Cole was going nuts like we'd won the world championship. And I got mad at him and called him over and started yelling at him because it wasn't over. And Rocket Watts is like, "Coach, coach, coach." And I go, "No, this thing's not over. We're not, why are we celebrating?" And DQ was going, "Okay." And I looked at him, I go, "DQ, act like you've been here before, even though we never have. Act like we have, all right?" And that kind of calmed him down, and then we finished it out.
And you guys finished it out and pulled off a monumental win that people are still talking about to this day, about a year later. And with that win that you had against Kentucky, with you being at Oakland for over 4 decades now, do you think that's the biggest win and the most proudest moment you've had in your head coaching career at OU?
I think if you encapsulate everything, yeah, there's no question. What it did for the school, where we've come from, what we've done. Um, I mean, there were 8.2 million people watching the game. It was the highest watched first round game in an NCAA tournament since Zion Williamson played at Duke. Um, so yes, I mean, I don't think you can question that. Now, personally, there's some games in there that were very, very meaningful. Beating Michigan at home, was having a brother and a dad that played football in Michigan, growing up being a big Michigan guy. To get them to play us in the arena and then to beat them was probably, from my standpoint, one of the best moments of that I've had. And then there's just a lot of other games that, had some behind the scenes meetings. But for Oakland and for everything, yes, there's no question that Kentucky game.
And that's something that's going to be remembered for years and years to come. And you mentioned you have playing Michigan at the arena, another fellow Michigan team that you play, and another coach that you have a really good relationship with, Tom Izzo, and Michigan State. You guys play them pretty much every year at Little Caesars Arena, and more particularly this past year. Yeah, you guys had a matching holiday theme. Tell me about that. What went into that?
I a few years, 4, 5, 6 years ago, somebody got me into you need to wear a holiday sweater and all that. So I started doing it. I got some really crazy ones and got some notoriety for it. So we played at Michigan State a few years back, and I talked him into wearing, let's do that again. And I wore this Grinch shirt, and he wore a elf shirt, and he got a technical in the game, and the media called him an angry elf. And so it was I thought it was funny as hell. He didn't think it was that funny. So this year I said to him, we need to bring that back, and I'm going to get us matching shirts. I don't think anybody's ever worn matching Christmas sweaters and he goes, I don't know if he really thought I was crazy but he goes, if you want to do it, I'll do it. So um, I talked to him the shirts that I ordered never came in, but somebody helped me get those two Grinch things that we wore, and they came in the day before the game. So I texted him, I said, I'm bringing your shirt. And so I met him back in the bowels of the Little Caesars Arena, about an hour and a half before anybody gets there in the game. And I showed it to him, and he said, Are you sure you want to do this? And I said, Yeah, let's do this. So we did it. And I think he's glad we did it because he went viral in it, and then he wore it. He does a Christmas radio show with his team every year where he plays the harmonica, jingle bell, all that kind of, and he wore it that night to that. So I think he liked it.
I just from hearing that, I could probably imagine from playing Michigan State over the years and just how long Coach Izzo's been with his program at Michigan State, how long you've been with your program at Oakland, that your guys' relationship is a pretty close one at this point in your guys' careers.
Oh yeah, I mean we've been through the wars together. We talk to each other about it all the time, and it's in this business, you got to have somebody like that, and he could have a million different people, and I'm sure he has other people that he talks to. But I think my perspective of because we're kind of the same guy, we've stayed at the same place in the state of Michigan for a long time. We seem to have the same values. We coach differently in that, his, but he can get anybody he wants. I can't. So I always tell him, yeah, you can do those things because you can go get those guys. Me, I just got to take the best players I can get and figure out how to play. So it makes my business, and I'm sure it helps him too. It makes it a lot better.
Yeah. And so, again, with you being a head coach at Oakland for over 4 decades now, I mean, you probably get this question all the time, or probably been getting this question for the last couple of years now. Have there been any thoughts about retirement or moving on to another Division I program? If not for both those, I mean, how long do you think you can, still continuing to coach at Oakland at a high level for how long?
Well, I hope I can keep doing it for a while. I've got 4 years left on my contract. My plan right now is to honor those 4 years. Um, if if we can keep playing at the level we're playing now, I would like to keep doing it. I mean, I really don't have, uh, you know, there's not a whole lot else in my life. Um, I do have a couple grandkids, and I can play as much golf now as I want. It's not like I need to, there's nothing out there that I really striving to do. So, but as the years tick off, we'll reevaluate. But like I said, I've got 4 years left, and as far as ever leaving, I've had a lot of chances to leave, but it's never been the one I wanted. Um, if Power Four school or Power Five school called me and offered me 3 million a year, I'd probably take it. I mean, but it's not something that um, I've I've never been offered that type of financial job. I've never been offered the Power Five job. I've been offered kind of the next level from Oakland, and I've never wanted that because I like Oakland. I like where I'm at, and I like what we do here.
I mean, with everything that you have helped accomplish and help lead over 40 years, you know, you are Oakland basketball. There is no in between. When people think of Oakland basketball, they think of Greg Kampe as the head coach of Oakland and tradition and success over 40 years. So, I mean, if with you, hopefully with you, like you said, being around for 4 more years, and then who knows beyond that, obviously your legacy's already cemented, but the next 4 years, let's try and win a couple more championships, get into the tournament again.
Well, that's what we're going to do. Hopefully, we feel we should be playing right now. We kind of gave it away, or maybe had it taken from us a little bit too, on last week. But we had the ball to score, and we didn't even get a shot off, and that's on me. But we felt this was another year we could get there. We had 11 new guys this year. Now we're trying to keep the majority of those guys next year. That's what we're doing right now in the recruiting process. We're trying to keep our own players in this day and age. And if we can keep, the 4 or 5 important key players, we got a chance to be really good next year, really good. And we've got to fill in some spots in recruiting. And if we do, that not only getting to the tournament, but winning games in the tournament is a high priority for us.
Absolutely. And finally, Coach, do you have anything coming up in the off season? I know you do a lot of charity work, charity outings, anything that you just want to get out there, or just even just a hype up for next season, like you were just talking about.
Yeah, I'm going to do the normal charity events, but we're going to do it's going to be announced pretty soon. We're going to do a fundraising event for my basketball program, for NIL money for the players, and that with Izzo's going to come in, and Sage Steele is going to moderate it. But Izzo, myself, Dave Gavitt, and George Gerving, the famous Hall of Fame basketball player, we're going to do at the Detroit Athletic Club. We're going to do a round table with a dinner and that, and we're gonna sell tables to it, and that it'll be announced pretty soon.
Wow. All right. So that sounds absolutely exciting. Just having you, Coach Izzo, the Iceman from that played at his days at Eastern Michigan, and obviously a Hall of Fame career with the San Antonio Spurs. That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that release. Coach, again, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. It was a huge honor to have you on, and first, just thank you for everything that you have done with Oakland over the last 40 years, beating Kentucky last year, and I wish you nothing but the best going forward, and cannot wait for next season for you guys to win the Horizon and get back on the dance floor. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it. Glad to be here. Anytime you need me, I'm here.
Wow, what a story! Just hearing from how Coach Campy went from being a special teams football player at Bowling Green, setting those records, almost going to the NFL, going to Toledo, going to the dance. His first year, the Sweet 16, the year that Magic Johnson and Larry Bird played each other, Michigan State and Indiana State in the NCAA finals, that legendary championship game, going to Oakland, transforming the program over 40 years. making multiple NCAA tournament bids, CIT tournament bids, NIT tournament bids, and most importantly, last year being watched by over 8 million people and busting millions and millions of brackets along the way as well with their humongous win over the Kentucky Wildcats. So that will do it for this installment of Keeping It Fresh. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that bell icon to get notified when a new show comes up. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook as well. I would greatly appreciate that help. And until we meet in the next one, as always, keep it fresh.